Hello, everyone. So, huge welcome for all of us at Seed Wellness. And thank you so much for those who are here today with us for taking the time out of your day and investing in your well being. My name is Magali, and I run the Seed Wellness team in Berkhamsted and Amersham. And for those who are new to us, Seed Wellness is a collaborative of therapists, and we're based in quite a few different areas. So I'm going to name a few, but I might miss some of them because we've expanded a lot recently. So we have Berkhamsted, we have Chesham, Amersham, Beaconsfield, Marlow, Henley, and I think London is coming on very soon as well. We are focused on giving our local communities a deeper understanding of their health and the options available on their health journey. So we're trying to support them as best as we can through our dedicated network. So today we're here to talk about the winter slump that most of us is going through. And I'm going to try to explain a little bit about the reason behind that as to why is this such a difficult time of the year. And it's not just in your head. I want to start with that. There is a fundamental conflict happening between your biology and the environment and culture that we're living in. I'm going to try to section this into four main topics. First one being the light and the rhythm shift. So firstly, the lack of light. Our body's rhythm is basically designed to respond to sunlight. So we are regulated by the sun, and that affects our circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock. It is essentially what enables us to know when it's time to go to bed. And it's crucial for producing serotonin, which is the feel-good neurotransmitter. So less light means our rhythm wants to slow down, and the serotonin levels can dip drastically, and that impacts our energy and our mood. The second part to this is our body wisdom and the society demands, which is quite basically conflicting because our bodies are incredibly wise. And in nature, winter is a time to rest. It's a time for reflection, for conservation, a time to slow down, just like nature. And you can see like around yourself, the trees are going dormant, some of the animals are hibernating. But for us, the modern world, and especially now with Christmas coming up, is demanding the absolute opposite. More socializing, more spending, more doing. So this creates a huge internal stress and a sense of us failing because we cannot keep up. The third part is the nutritional and the physical shift. So there is the cold and the diet. We naturally crave warmer, heavier, and often very carb-rich food at this time of year, and this is for insulation and comfort. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it creates a really, really sharp shift because from the summer we were having fresh and light food, and now we're going into this heavier diet. So the gut health is impacted, and that can slow down our energy. On top of that, we are inclined to go less outside for walks because of the dark, because of the cold weather. And that means we're missing out on movement. And that again has drastic mood impact effect on us. Final part is the light and the artificial world that we live in. So basically nowadays we're all based in this blue light and LED light, either from your screen, from your house lightings, from the cars that you're driving, from nowadays 5 p.m. pretty much. And we stay on the screens until late into the evening, and blue lights directly disrupt the melatonin production, which is the hormones that tells you it's time to go to bed. So it's really complicated because essentially, if you imagine in the olden days, electricity, when electricity wasn't there, we would be going to bed at 6 o'clock. And nowadays, we're still going to bed at the same time because of the lights. So it creates another knock-on effect. Sorry, I think I've got a dog trying to barge through the door. So the summary is that if you feel tired right now or overwhelmed, you're not broken, you're not lazy, you're just a human being having a biological normal response to less light, colder temperatures, and a culture that is working directly against your body innate wisdom. Okay, so we've just covered the why as a first step. And now we are going to go into a little bit of the holistic toolkit that we brought together today as a team. And I'm just gonna start handing over with because I've got a lovely team with me today. We have Lucy, we have Sam, we have Vern, and myself. So we'll do a quick fire introduction saying who we are, our names, our modalities, and where we are based. So Lucy, I'm just handing over the mic to you.
Thank you. Is that good? Okay. All right. So thank you very much, Magali. I am Lucy Blunden. I am based around Berkhamsted. I'm in the Berkhamsted Seed team and also Hemel Hempstead. I have a clinic at my home. I'm a medical herbalist and also an EFT tapping practitioner. I specialize in gut conditions, but because I'm a medical herbalist or because I'm a complementary therapist, what somebody comes to me with is not the only thing that I treat them for. And with the EFT, what I do is I bring in what I consider to be a really fundamental part of treatment, which is where the emotional and the physical have met each other and maybe are kind of rubbing each other up the wrong way or bumping against each other. So I think that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you, Lucy. I don't know if you want to go next, Sam.
Hi, yes, I'm Sam. I'm a cranial sacral therapist and also a homeopath, and I'm based in Beaconsfield. I work with the seed team in Beaconsfield, but the way that I work is that I do home visits within a half-hour radius of Beaconsfield. So I'm out Amersham, Great Missenden, High Wycombe, all Maidenhead, all round, all around. And I think the focus for my work, I mean, I work with people coming with so many different things, but it really seems to be about building greater safety inside our bodies. So thank you. Lovely to be here.
Thank you, Sam. Lovely to have you as well. Vern, if you want to have your turn.
Great. Yeah. Hi, I'm Vaughan, and I'm a wellness coach, and you can see the T-shirt, a certified breathwork instructor. And I'm work in the Greater Berkshire region, and I help women and men transform their gut health with a focus on constipation, healing constipation and hemorrhoids, as well as teaching you how to regulate your nervous system with science-backed breathing techniques. And I wrote a book on gut health, Gut-Wise, the secret to healing that pain in the ass. And I also created the Ocean Breeze breathing technique. And it is my signature 4-minute breathing technique to regulate your nervous system. And clients use it to improve their digestion, sleep, energy, and also resilience, all things that we seem to lose as life just happens. And my aim is to share gut health and breathwork practices that are simple, science-backed, and that they are also easy to follow for people, especially now in the middle of winter, as Magali said. And there's a tidal wave of mental wellness sweeping around the world. And I believe that transformation lies at this heart between gut health and breathing, which are two natural, accessible ways for people to regulate your own nervous system. So really excited to be on the Seed webinar.
Thank you so much, Vern. Brilliant. So we just had a little comment. Yes, without camera. That's actually perfectly fine, by the way, if the participants listening to this not on camera, because I think it will take too much bandwidth. So I'll just introduce myself briefly. I've mentioned I'm running the team for Seed Wellness in Berkhamsted and Chesham, but my main background is I am a medical herbalist and inner trauma release therapist. So essentially, I work both with herbs, diet, lifestyle to support people. But I think one of the other things that's really key for me is not forgetting that actually when our body is in disbalance or in disease, it's actually speaking to us. So rather than being afraid and just be only focused on, taking herbs or as a long-term fix, it's also really important to go in listening to what the body is saying. And often a big part of that is actually trauma release. And I am based in Great Missenden. Okay, so what we're going to do next is each of us is going to introduce a little bit. So today we've only got 4 of us, and I could have brought a lot more therapists to this. There's so many modalities that can support people through the winter slump. But we'll just go and explain a little bit about how our modalities is supportive, specifically towards this time of year, change in weather. And we'll give each of us will give a little free demonstration or free advice on what you can do yourself at home to support yourself at this time of year. Now, whilst we do that, if any of you are listening to this and you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, because after this, we'll go and answer any questions you might have. So I'll let you work in the background whilst we do that. Lucy, are you good to go first?
Yep. Thank you. So from a herbal point of view, sometimes it's a little bit hard to kind of pull out what you might call herbal and what you might call something else, because as a herbalist, what I'm doing is addressing all aspects of somebody's lifestyle and their experience of their health. So whilst there are herbs that I could suggest that might be useful, they may not be useful to you personally or individually. So if, as a kind of almost like a disclaimer, don't forget that if you try something out and it doesn't work for you, don't continue it. I mean, it sounds really obvious, but sometimes I've heard people saying, "Oh, yeah, but you said that garlic's really, really good for this, but garlic really upsets my stomach." So, okay, well then let's find something else. Let's move away from that. So on the kind of the thinking about herbal medicine, mostly the way I work as a herbalist is I consult people individually. So giving generic advice to people, again, it aligns with what I was just saying about taking care of yourself, but it's also about thinking about, well, where are the things that I'm putting into my life generally anyway? So, are you cooking? If you're going for stews and things, to remember to use the kinds of warming spices that are typical in foods around this time of year. So that could be cinnamon, it could be clove, things like cumin and coriander, some of the that are also incredibly supportive for the digestive tract. So if you're putting those into your long, slow cooked foods, which are really so supportive at this time of year, you're also thinking about that, and you're giving that to yourself on a medicinal level as well. So supporting your gut in processing the things that are going on, coming into your body through food, but also all the other chemicals and things that your body produces and that you are exposed to in your daily life by supporting your full digestive system. So I know that Magali is going to talk a bit more about supplements and that sort of thing, but that's always part of what I do as well. But it's the nourishing foods, so thinking about the roots. And so it's also herbal roots as well. So the kinds of roots that we know to be warming, that can be incredibly supportive at this time of year. So things like ginger and turmeric. And if you probably know that when you work with turmeric, that you need to have some fats in there so that you get all the constituents of the turmeric. And so when we choose, I think about roots particularly at this time of year, because this is the time of year that they get harvested. This is the time of year that if you think of the trees, they've let go of their leaves, they're putting all their energy back down into their roots. This is a consolidation. It's an investment in looking forward, looking to the spring, so that when you're ready to blossom and bloom and come back into leaf, that you've got the energy for that. So it's thinking about in that kind of way, restoring your inner kind of world and your body, as well as your mental inner world. So I think what a lot of what I was going to talk about is around this just complete disparity between what the external world is asking of you and what nature and what your natural pull towards is. And the reality is we're not all going to suddenly become hermits and hibernate over winter, because we've got this massive festival in the middle that quite a lot of us will be observing, but it's about being mindful of how many yeses you give out and how many no's that you could perhaps exercise. And then if you are going to go to some big do and you know that that's going to drain you rather than revitalize you, is try and block out time around it. So give yourself an hour before you leave to sit quietly and maybe do some of what Vaughan will teach you in terms of breathing exercises before you go out, and then when you come back again, so that you can keep filling your jug, your container, your whatever it is we call it, so that you're regularly topping up your stores. And then I was thinking, so there are some really easy ways to bring roots and things to your life. One is by buying something like a pucker turmeric active. I'm not a pucker salesperson, by the way, but the turmeric active has loads of lovely warming spices in it, which is a lovely digestive support and great for feeling nurtured at this time of year. But if you want to make your own, is to compose it of ginger, maybe turmeric, the cloves, the cinnamon, maybe some star anise, black pepper, all these warming spices. And I like to get a large saucepan, few slices of ginger, chuck in half a quill of, so it needs to be quilled cinnamon, and a couple of cloves and those other spices. Fill it with some filtered water, put the lid on, boil that on your stove for 20 minutes, and then just dip in to take a cupful of that every time. And that will support your immune system, it support your digestive system, it will be warming, and it will help to feel very nourishing. You can also pop in some what do you call it, a tiny weeny bit of honey if you must, and some lemon. But if you have enough cinnamon, then the sweetness of the cinnamon will support you anyway. And in terms of bringing a sense of sunshine to your daily life, one of the herbs that I would think about for harnessing sunshine are the ones that kind of look like suns. So the marigold and the chamomiles. If you're feeling quite depleted, some rose, and if you're struggling to say no, maybe some hawthorn in the leaves and flowers, and berries if you've got access to them. So those would be my kind of wintry top tips. And I think most people are going to have quite a lot of that in their kitchen cupboards already, and easy access to some of the herbs through herbal teas through the supermarket or what have you. So hopefully that's helpful, and I would be delighted to hear if anybody tries anything and how they get on with it. Have I run out of time now?
You've done really well. Thank you so much, Lucy. Brilliant. I think we have Sam next, or sorry, I can't remember the order. Doesn't really matter.
That's fine. If that's okay, I'll go now. And so in terms of talking about how cranial sacral therapy can support you, I'm going to really look at how our bodies are meeting this time of year. Magalie's already talked about that, talking about how, and really feeling into how, as we're engaging with these changing temperatures, the cold, how we need to and tend to brace against that. So the way that we hold our bodies changes. We are more sleepy in the shorter days, and at the same time, like Magalie said, the demands on our energy and time become bigger. And so our fascia can literally, our connective tissues can literally get tighter. We may find our breathing becoming more shallow, and any tensions and bracing that is historically living in our bodies from our life challenges, from shock, from trauma, that can get further compressed at this time. And it really does then take a toll on our nervous systems. So, our nervous systems are really delicate creatures that are constantly scanning our environment externally to us and internally to us, checking out, looking out for danger, looking out for safety. And this is all happening below our conscious mind. And before we have a chance to even really think about what's happening around us. So this scanning is happening, the tension in our fascia, a clenched jaw as we're pushing through our days. These things can really signal danger to our nervous systems, and our nervous systems can become increasingly hypervigilant to try and keep us safe, or they can try and numb us due to the overwhelm we may be experiencing. So we might feel quite activated, or we might struggle to feel really connected to our day-to-day, or even feel anxiety or depression. And these are really normal nervous system responses to navigating so much stimulation and to not having enough space in our lives to notice and feel into where safety and support is actually available to us. So cranial work, it's a gentle, deep, energetic, and physical hands-on treatment that works to support your body to experience greater internal safety. And as practitioners, we're working directly with the fascial tensions, not just fascial tensions from the present moment, but also gently working to unwind historical holding and bracing patterns that are held in the body. And this releases the physical pressure that the tissues can be putting on our nervous system. And it also goes deeply into helping our nervous system to reorient from held shock or activation to a greater sense of safety, softness, and flow for our whole bodies. So I'd like us to take a little moment to be with our own nervous systems now, to feel into bringing a bit of a relational bridge from our minds to our nervous systems. And the main nerve that we associate with managing, it's very complex, but the main nerve that we associate with managing our experience of safety is the vagus nerve. And this is a big nerve called the wanderer. It's wandering through our bodies, emerging from the cranium, down our necks, through our chests. And it's innervating the major organs all the way down to the first part of the small intestine. And the vagus nerve is also very entangled with the facial nerve, very affected by how the facial nerves are feeling. So tension that we might be holding in our face, on our jaw, or our cranium can all have a direct effect on this nerve. And like I say, it's then traveling down the body. So any holding in the chest, the neck, the diaphragm can all have an impact on the vagus nerve. So I'm going to just invite you to take a moment, just take a few breaths, just get yourself comfortable. And I'm going to invite you to start to, and wait one moment, but start to bring a hand towards your face so that you can support your face. I'd really like you to approach this contact really gently, really slowly, and with as much softness and tenderness and care as possible. So really imagining that as you're reaching your hand towards your face, you're reaching your hand towards a beautiful little nervous kitten, maybe, that you don't want to make it jump and you don't want to scare it away, but you really want to bring a sense of tenderness and safety and comfort to this gorgeous, soft, warm creature. So gently and slowly bringing your hand to the side of your face and your jaw, and softly cupping your face and taking a deep breath. And another one. And really feeling into just holding your face with this tenderness. There's nothing else to do but to bring that care, that warmth, that love to any tensions that might be in the tissues here. And breathing. And with the same care and softness, relaxing your shoulders and softening through your body, bringing your other hand to your heart center and gently staying with your breath. And just breathing in that gentleness and tenderness from your hand on your heart. And just holding these places that are pathways for the vagus nerve with that gentle care. Really inviting also your sit bones to just soften into your chair more deeply. And I just invite you to feel into a couple of things in your immediate environment that you're feeling grateful for right now. It can be really simple things like the clean air that you're breathing in, the electric light, the softness and support of a blanket. Because it is really hard for the primal parts of our nervous systems to distinguish between everyday stress and life threat. So when we're reorienting our awareness to abundance around us, our nervous systems can feel safer and really deepen trust with our lives. So I'm going to gently invite you to come back to your awareness of the space and the Zoom room, and I'm just going to finish there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. That was really grounding. Thank you for that. Vern, are you still around?
Yeah, not fallen asleep yet. Good. So I mentioned I'm a certified breathwork instructor, and I thought instead of talking to you or telling you about breathwork, I thought much better that we experience it. And I thought we could begin with a simple situation imagination experiment. And what we're going to do is imagine a morning situation that rattles your mood and battles your nervous system. And I'm going to show you what you can do. So imagine, if you will, with me. You wake up in the morning and you realize your alarm clock didn't go off, so you're late. You rush to the bathroom, turn on the tap, no water pressure. A water main pipe burst overnight. You suddenly hear your son shouting up the stairs. He can only find one of his football boots, only one. And your daughter, there's not a sound coming from her room. She's still fast asleep, and a sloth moves quicker than her. And then to top it all off, when you finally get them all coordinated and into the car, remember that burst water pipe? Well, there's a traffic lights, one-way system in your road. Awesome. Your mood is completely off track. So far that Google Maps can't even reroute it, and you're in completely the wrong headspace. And we love as humans to have all of our ducks in a row and to have everything in control, but life is unexpected. So while you can't control mornings like that, I want to show you how you can reset your mood and your nervous system. So I'd like you to close your mouth and begin breathing through your nose. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to breathe down into your belly region, and you're going to breathe to fill your lungs to around 70 to 80%. And then we're going to purse our lips, and I want you to imagine a candle flame in front of you. And you are, through pursed lips, going to breathe softly and make that candle flame move for as long as you can without blowing it out. So the objective, breathe through pursed lips softly and slowly and make a candle flame, an imaginary one, move for as long as possible. All right? So let's breathe in through the nose down into the belly. Slight pause, purse your lips, imagine that candle flame, and breathe softly and slowly for as long as you can. And first breath in must be through your nose. Very good. And we'll all be at different speeds. So if you're finished early, just continue to do some recovery breaths through the nose. All right. And we're going to try that again. And as Sam had said, I'm going to reinforce that. We all carry a lot of tension here in our shoulders and in our jaws. So right now, as you're just breathing through your nose, recovering, just relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. And I don't think anyone is driving or operating heavy machinery. So I'm going to encourage you, if you feel comfortable, to close your eyes, because 80% of the sensory information we receive and then you receive comes through the eyes. And if you can shut that off just for a moment, you allow space for your brain to rest and relax. All right. So if you're now ready, again, let me encourage you, breathe through your nose down into your belly, about 80% of your lungs, slight pause, purse your lips, imagine that candle flame, close your eyes if you're comfortable, purse lips, and blow softly and slowly for as long as you can. Relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw. And then first breath in through your nose, and 1 or 2 recovery breaths through your nose. Right. Very good. And I saw some improvement there, and some of you that I'm watching just in the moments, in 2 repetitions of that exercise. And of all the breathing practices that I teach, some people reply back to me that they find that simple technique one of their favorites, and it's called flicker flame. In a moment, how you can just rest and reset that nervous system. And if you enjoyed that and you've always wanted to understand more about breathing, you might be excited to know that I'm offering a pre-Christmas special on the breathing technique that I mentioned, my signature ocean breeze breathing technique. And it's a 14-day challenge, just 4 minutes a day, where I teach you the ocean breeze technique, which is scientifically proven to outperform mindfulness. So if you want to approach 2026 and be ready for all it has to throw at you, love to teach you the secret, I believe, to regulating and resetting your nervous system. Hope you enjoyed that.
Thank you so much, Vern. And we'll make sure to include the links for that as well with the recording so people can find that. Okay, fab. So Lucy's already covered the herbs, and I will really resonate with things that she's already said. So I don't want to do an overlap. I think something that I also want to kind of deep dive in a little bit, because we talked about all the different root causes for the winter dip, but one thing I didn't bring on was the immune system. And because at this time of year, a lot of us are getting colds. And I see a lot of my patients actually coming to my door with all sorts of things, chest infections, stomach bug, etc. So it's quite interesting. This obviously, why does this happen more at this time of year? Well, again, lack of light, lack of sunlight, our vitamin D's levels are going down. Also, because it's colder, we tend to all spend more time indoors, next to each other in a warmer environment, which is the perfect breeding ground for viruses to spread across all of us. Lovely, isn't it? And then when you get sick, well, it brings an inflammatory response, and that again will impact your hormones and bring a dip in your mood. So it is really a tough time of year for all of us. And as herbalists, we do work with herbs, but we also work with diet and supplements. And might sound already really obvious to most of you, but basically I keep having to see this in my own clinic, the lack of vitamin D and people still not taking vitamin D in the winter. So it's a very simple thing to do, making sure you up your vitamin D levels so that your immune system is basically ready and more able to brave all those little viruses. Now, with vitamin D, there's always a few caveats. So you can overdose, and I do see people who take vitamin D all year round, when if somebody's going outside in the sun, they don't need to take vitamin D. However, in the winter, I would say for the majority of us, it's very important to take it, but it's not one dose suits everybody. So you do need to check a little bit with your own lifestyle, how much you've been out in the summer. If you haven't had any sunlight exposure, you more likely will need higher level than others. And actually, for some people, I sometimes do generally advise to do a little test to check what your vitamin D levels are, so that you can know how much to supplement. So that was a little thing about this. I could talk about many more supplements, but it's very much based on an individual picture. As Lucy mentioned before, as herbalist, it's really a one-person case at a time, and we work very holistically. So it's always different. We might have 3 people with exactly the same symptoms and have completely different diet suggestion, completely different herbs, and completely different supplements. Okay, the other part that I love deep diving at this time of year, and I think actually it's a much deeper layer. It's about, we're going into this phase where we're slowing down, we're feeling a bit lower. And actually, it's a beautiful time of year for introspection, because our shadow side is kind of getting bigger at this time of year, and a lot of us feel more depressed. And it feels like a challenge, but it is also an opportunity to go and introspect into what is going on. Because when we're feeling a bit lower, the body and the emotional field tends to be a bit less guarded and more ready to release trauma. So it's a beautiful time of year to go and explore different therapies to work with that. One of the things that I do, and actually today I'll offer that as a little ritual, is work with plants to release trauma. It's a somatic experience where we're not working with psychedelics or anything like that. It's just local plants. And through a tea tasting, or sometimes just holding the plant, we go in and check in what's going on in the body. And that's a very beautiful experience to support trauma release. So one of the things you can do at this time of year is a tea tasting at home, like a little ritual, maybe once a week, twice a week, as often as you can, as often as you feel to do. One of the herbs that I love working with at this time of year, but can be a little bit controversial, is St. John's wort, because St. John's wort as a tea is very beautiful. It's the first flower that comes in on summer solstice. So it's very much resonant with the sun, with that summer that comes in. So it's a way of bringing a bit of sunlight into your winter days. It's also obviously antidepressant, as some of you might know, so it works really well with that. However, a little word of caution, St. John's wort is contraindicated if you're on any medication. So if that's the case, work with rose instead. It's a beautiful mood booster, and it's also amazing for trauma release and working with that. So at this time of year, one of the things that I would suggest is make yourself a beautiful cup of tea. Choose a mug that you like, even a beautiful teapot. It sounds silly, but it's all about the ritual. It's all about making this experience a special moment for yourself. As much as you can, try to find 10 minutes somewhere in the room and just be by yourself, or do it with someone you like. It's also really fun to pair up to do this exercise. And all you do is prepare your lovely tea, and then you just work with the breath, because as Vaughan demonstrated earlier, breath is very important to support the nervous system, to calm it down. And that's the starting point with this, especially if we want to go into an introspection state. So I would just start by breathing in, closing your eyes, and just gently smelling. And as you smell the tea, the very important part is to really slow down. So it's a long, deep breath into your belly. And you can do a little scanning exercise first, where you check how is your head, your throat. And I'm going to fast forward this a little bit, but you would do that very slowly. You would do one breath, one area, and then you would go in your heart, in your chest, in your belly. And as you smell the aroma of your tea, and it's important to work with one plant at a time, because you're working with that plant's energy, you can just ask yourself, which part of my body needs this the most right now? And at the beginning, you might have nothing coming up. But as you do these rituals more and more, you might feel like a warmth in the chest, or a block, or it's different for everyone. It could be a color, a temperature, a sound even. But it's just asking that question and coming back in that body that is very important. Because at this time of year, it's just checking in. Which part of me need nurturing right now? And it doesn't have to be something from the headspace where you have a whole story and explanation. It can just be like a little woof into your body. And then as you do that, if you find somewhere, just bringing the plant and the breath to that area and just staying with it 5 minutes. That's a very simple one, and for me, that's basically the work that I do is all based on that. Is just bringing the plant to the body and then going back to trauma. Obviously, we can't do that right now, but it's very simple, and it really helps clearing the head and grounding yourself back. So hopefully you can enjoy that at home in your own time. And if you have any questions, yes, feel free to message. We'll put our details as well with the recording, so you can get hold of us if you need anything. Okay, so I think today we've had quite lovely few tips. We've had the why are we feeling like this at this time of year. We've had a beautiful herbal potion suggested by Lucy. We had a beautiful little craniosacral example on how to self-nurture ourselves at home. And again, just a grounding exercise. We've had Vaughan, that's it, I'm starting to mix names. Breathwork, and a possibility to do a 14 days breathwork challenge. And then a little tea ritual tasting. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. It would be a good time now for questions. So if any of you have any questions about anything that's been discussed or anything that they're going through at this time of year, you can feel free to unmute yourself. I think you can do that if you can't just message. Or if you want to type something in, because we probably just about have time for one question. Maybe two, depending how fast we can answer, but I would say one is probably more realistic. So yeah, anybody has any question from our participants or the therapists themselves? No. Yeah, Vaughan, you've lifted your... I can't hear you. You're muted, Vaughan.
Can you hear me now? Am I muted?
Yeah.
It was a quick question for Lucy. Lucy, I love cinnamon, and I love how you said a great substitute for sugar, but then you mentioned a specific type of cinnamon, the squilled. Won't you just explain what that is?
Yeah, so the cinnamon quills are what is called in other places true cinnamon, and it has a very different action in the body. If you go to a lot of the world food kind of shops, where they have the really wide groceries and you can get packets of spices, the cinnamon in that is, and it's often called cinnamon, is actually cassia bark, and cassia bark isn't good for your liver if you take a lot of it, whereas true cinnamon is absolutely fine. And the true cinnamon is the one that comes in quills when it's whole. So it's kind of, it looks like a little spiral maybe on both sides. So you sometimes buy it like that. I think if you buy it powdered in the supermarket, I wouldn't suggest doing that because you don't know how long it's been powdered for and what quality it is any longer. But if you buy it powdered, you will be buying, you should be getting true cinnamon, cinnamon verum. But just check the packaging to make sure it's not Cinnamonum cassia.
And I think also just to add, it's normally Ceylon cinnamon. So the Ceylon cinnamon is,
Ceylon, yeah,
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 is
yeah,
the right variety that you want. That's
yeah.
the premium variety. We just had a question come up. Actually, it's about St. John's wort. I knew I was gonna something with that. So is St. John's wort, is it bad with all meds? So it's not that it's bad for a start. So it's quite, I could go on and on about it, but essentially it's a very powerful liver detoxifier. So it will flush out most medication. And if somebody's already on some antidepressant, it will double up that effect. So we generally, with any medication, we don't advise to take St. John's wort as a tea, as a one-off. It's generally more safer than a tincture. But for precaution, we always say do not take St. John's wort alongside medication, or if you've just had organ transplant. And that is generally the mechanism of that. So hopefully that clarifies these questions. Anybody else has anything? If not, we can quickly maybe go. Oh, actually, I don't know if we have time. It's already, well, we could just run out by 3 more minutes. Shall we just, we had a question that came up before. Shall I just pick one out of the three? I find it hard to switch off my brain at night, which ruins my sleep and energy for the next day. Any tips? Go on, Vern.
I'll give you a quick one. So there is a gentleman who is a walking, talking lab experiment on longevity, a chap called Brian Johnson. And this guy has tried everything, plasma transfusions, electroshock therapy. And he was asked recently, what is your top tip for people in this area? You want to know what his top tip was? Was this: lower your resting heart rate before sleep. And then he explained why and the importance of, because if you sleep better, you are more likely to exercise the next day. If you exercise the next day, you're more likely to eat better, more likely to be healthier. So the only thing was that Brian didn't explain, well, how do you lower your resting heart rate before sleep? Well, I'd like to suggest to you the best way is to use your breathing. I find it is the ultimate biohack, and you can use it to regulate your nervous system by adjusting your breathing through a process called respiratory sinus arrhythmia. You can slow and relax and reduce your heart rate before sleep. So I'd highly recommend a breathing practice and a variety to slow down your breathing, specifically your exhalation, to lower your heart rate.
Thank you, Vern. I think from my perspective, I mean, it sounds like a really obvious one, but we did talk about blue lights and also the fact that at this time of year, we actually should go to bed earlier. We should sleep longer hours. This is what animals do. This is what they're all doing as well. So trying to even bring your bedtime by first 30 minutes earlier and then an hour earlier is already a good start. And the screen time. So if you can't fully switch off from your screen, you can actually have, you can either buy blue light blockers. Some of the phone, you can have a functionality when you can remove the blue light from them. And that's a starting point, just trying to sleep more and avoiding blue light closer to bedtime. I'd say 3-4 hours ideally, but already 2 hours before bedtime is a good start.
And a very simple herbal tip would be to take a strong brewed cup of chamomile, assuming you're not somebody who has the adverse response to it, which some very rarely people do. But a nicely strong brewed, so a couple of tea bags, buying the best quality that you can, couple of tea bags, brewed with a lid on the top for a good 10-20 minutes. And it will become bitter, but is better for the bitter. So using that to and drink that around an hour before bed, so that you don't then wake up halfway through the night because you need a pee, because that's not, that's counterproductive.
Thank you, Lucy. Okay, great. Well, I think we're coming to a close. If anybody else have questions in the future, you're welcome to comment. I think we'll be posting this somewhere on the podcast, Seed Wellness, but you can always reach out through Instagram. So yeah, huge thank you to Lucy, to Vaughan, to Sam for sharing your incredible wisdom today. And to all of you who turned up, who managed to carve out that 45 minutes out of your day. So your support system doesn't end here. Yeah, we have a whole team of other specialists at Seed Wellness, and they can all support you. So we've got things like acupuncture, sound therapy, grief counseling. We even have a Frido transformation card game master in Berkhamsted, and the list goes on and on. So you can find all of them on our website, and you can also find each therapist according to each area. So you can just check that, see who is closer to you. Please follow us on Instagram if you want more daily tips and updates. The Instagram for Seed Wellness is Seed Wellness UK, and the website is seedwellness.co.uk. So from all of us at Seed Wellness, we wish you a happy end of November. You've got only 2 more days, I think. And vitality and deep self-compassion. Thank you.